I'm Kevin Richardson. I'm the Senior Manager of Global Sales Engineering for NTT DATA's global IP network. Lots of globals in that. Glad I didn't fall over those. We're a merry band of people selling wholesale IP transit, carrier Ethernet, and intelligent DDoS mitigation capabilities. Going to go through some DDoS threat landscapes and some tools and tips to help mitigate DDoS attacks if you're the unwanted recipient of one. Just a quick poll of the people in the audience here. Can you put your hand up if you have been the unwanted or even wanted recipient of a DDoS attack? So there's quite a few of you here. So it's quite common. There's a few hands that are down, so very lucky people in the audience, but hopefully some of you will get some good information out of this 20 minutes or so that I'll be talking. So it's going to be broken down into three sections. The Threatscapes, we're going to go through some data provided by, mine's gone blank now, provided. We're going to go on to some mitigation strategies, so things to help you if you are the unwanted recipient of an attack, and then going on to some variant of the solution to this. So the news is littered with, oh, a minute, go on to that one. The news is littered with news articles of DDoS attacks. They're always the greatest and biggest ones, the 2, 3, 5 terabit attacks, the multi-day attacks that go on. You can't move for not seeing a news article for it. So there's some articles here. It looks like some of the articles weren't updated, but there was recently somebody brought it to my attention that somebody created the first Waymo DDoS attack. They ordered 55 Waymos to a dead-end street and got them all blocked in. So that one raised a little smile for me, but in general, DDoS attacks aren't the funniest of things. But the most pertinent one on this is the one at the bottom there, the 86,000 IoT devices that are being used to start and perpetuate these DDoS attacks. These are things like your home set-top boxes, your home routers, even your light bulbs, your fridges, everything's connected to the internet these days, and they can all be used and extorted to start DDoS attacks. Worryingly, even home medical equipment now that might be monitoring your heart or your health or issuing you with medication, they've also started to be taken over and being used as botnets. And the quirkiest one I've seen is parking meters. So when you're parking your car at the side of the street and you're feeding it with coins, that might also be perpetuating a DDoS attack on some unknown network somewhere. So the news articles are all out there, and you can't go far without them. So looking at some of the methods of the attack, so the predominant attack vector is TCP now, and the main one inside TCP is the TCP-ACK. So I know most of you in the audience will know what a TCP-ACK is, but for those of you who don't, it's the last packet in the three-way handshake where it says all the data has been received. But the server that's been receiving this attack traffic and the TCP-ACK never sent it in the first place. So it's having to process that packet whilst it can't process legitimate traffic. So it can, with time, exhaust the server and cause it to come offline. Looking at the methods of attack, so amplification attack versus direct path attack. So back in 2020-ish, the amplification attacks were pretty equal with direct path attacks, and for a short period of time were the predominant model. But as you can see, over the years, the direct path has taken a more broader acceptance and more widely used with the attackers. This could be down to the fact that software developers are creating better mechanisms to stop some of this amplification attack and ignoring some of the dross that comes through from it. And if we go into 2025, you can see here that the gap stays the same, big gap between the two, but it's pretty level now, apart from towards the end of 2025. I don't know who annoyed somebody there, but that big spike at the end of the year where it picked up. But in the main, it stayed flat, but that gap has sustained. So looking at the regions and which region gets the most volume of DDoS attacks, unfortunately, EMEA, we are the largest. We've probably got a couple of countries that push that up the list at the moment, but with the exception of the summer holidays around August, so maybe it's school-related, university-related, but apart from those timeframes where we got close to LATAM, EMEA is quite a way ahead of the rest of the world on the volume of attacks going through. So going back to the news articles, we always read in news articles these really scary stories of these terabit, multi-terabit attacks that are coming through. The good news is that they are very rare. They account for less than 1/4 of a percentage point of all overall attacks. But whilst we shouldn't ignore them, because they are out there, they are real and they are live, we can take a little bit of comfort in the fact that the majority of the attacks are less than 10 gigabits per second, with the predominant one being the 100 megs to 10 gigabits per second. And all this data is from 2025. There we go. Looking at times, because we often see the news stories about these long, drawn-out, protracted attacks that are going on. Again, the good news is they are rare. They happen, but they are rather rare in that scenario. Less than 10% of attacks for that, with the lion's share being sort of 5 to 15 minutes of attacks. But the majority, up to sort of 85, 90% being less than 30 minutes of attack time. When we look at NTT DATA's global IP network and the tools that we use to mitigate attacks on behalf of our customers, we see that about 1.2% of attacks we manually mitigate. The other 98.8% is auto mitigation. And then we look at the attack duration. We actually see the data slightly differently to, I can't remember who it was we got it from. Sorry, hasn't got it on there anymore. But so from the other stats, we actually see it slightly differently, the time duration. We see that the 0 to 5 minutes is the lion's share of the attacks that we see, with the 5 to 15 minutes being about 21%. So we're kind of flipped with the general global statistics. Now, this could be down to the fact that we're doing a lot of auto mitigation, so we're picking up that the attack's coming through quickly, and we're cleaning that quickly, and the attacker may be identifying that that's not taking down the service that they thought it might do, so therefore they move on to an easier target more quickly. So looking at some mitigation strategies, we have the good old remotely triggered black hole. Most providers will do this for you. So if you've got your network connection with any IP transit provider, most of them will provide a remotely triggered black hole. It's very effective. It kills off a lot of the traffic. In fact, it kills off all the traffic. So it takes the good with the bad. But it does give you that breathing space. If you've got other services running on the same servers or the same internet connections, it gives you that breathing space to be able to look at how you're going to handle that mitigation and give you that connectivity still so that your other customers can carry on. NTT DATA does provide what they call a selective black hole, so you can be a bit more specific with this and target it to a particular region or a particular country to keep some of the service alive whilst you're working out that plan. Access control lists. This is probably one of the best tools you can use to try and stop DDoS attacks in the first place. If you're not using a service, don't publish it to the internet. Don't publish it to the outside world. If you're not running web servers, block port 80, block port 443. Not doing DNS, block port 53. Give the attackers the smallest spectrum as possible to target you, and you become less of a less chance of them picking up on you and going for you, because they've got to put a bit more effort into it. Intelligence mitigation, so there's many providers out there. NTT DATA are one of those, but there are many providers that either have it in the network or third party where you route the traffic through them. But intelligent mitigation is one of the best ways of performing with a DDoS attack. You can route your traffic through to the scrubbers, they clean the dirty traffic out, they deliver the clean traffic back to you directly, and your customers most of the time won't notice that there's anything going on. So it's a really good way, an effective way of making sure that you stay alive and your services stay alive whilst you're the unwanted recipient of an attack. Deploying a toolkit. So have an idea as to what you want to do if there's an attack coming along. You could start with remotely triggered black hole and clear that traffic off whilst you take a beat. Make sure you're using ACLs. Trim out the protocols that you're not using. Just limit the attack spectrum to those ports that are really vital to what you're doing. If you're not doing DNS, don't announce it to the wide world. NTP, don't announce it to the wide world if you're not using it, for your customers. And then use an intelligent mitigation service like our DPS services. This is highly effective, highly distributed. It cleans the attack at the edge of the network and delivers you only the clean services that you require. Your team. Your team is probably your greatest asset when it comes to a DDoS attack. So have checklists, have playbooks, make sure your team are aware of them, make sure they've got them somewhere safe. Ensure you've got ability to get to them. So if you're storing them on your file server in the office, make sure they've got remote copies, because if your internet connection's down, you're going to find it hard to get into that file server to retrieve a copy of it. Have important phone numbers and URLs and email addresses stored on your phone or stored somewhere that you can get to them easily. In the middle of the night, you don't want to be scrabbling around finding documents hidden at the bottom of your bag to be able to contact people like the CEO or your DDoS mitigation partner or whoever it might be to let them know you're under attack. If you host your own email servers, make sure you've got an off-net ability to send emails. The vast amount of third-party email servers out there, but make sure you've got a way of being able to communicate with people via email if you host your own email service. I know that's more of a dying breed now, hosting your own email service, but there are still many people out there that do it. If you run your own internet connections, if you're an internet service provider, make sure you've got third-party access into all of your kits so you can start triggering those remotely triggered black holes, even if your network is congested and the ports are full. Train your team. So make sure they understand what's going on during a mitigation. Make sure they know what to do. Make it second nature to them. Make it like muscle memory so that if it happens, they're not panicking. They know what to do. They know where to go. Ask your providers to do war games with them. So anyone that takes our DDoS protection services, we're more than happy to do war games with you. We won't attack you. We won't send a DDoS attack to you. You would have to do that, but we will work in the manner of being in a real-life situation so your teams can call us, they can work with us, and they can understand the type of attack. So make sure that you can do that with your service providers to ensure your teams are ready for those unwanted days. And repeat it regularly. Make sure that your team are ready and ready to go. So moving on to one of the solutions, a version of the solution, you can use a service like our DDoS protection services. So we start with the remotely triggered black hole and the selective blackholing. So most of us here are European-based networks with customers that are probably from within the European sphere. So what you can do with the remotely triggered selective blackholing is, say, block all traffic outside of the Netherlands or outside of Europe and keep the rest of that traffic in. So you can keep some traffic coming through to ensure that you'll have some service for the lion's share of your interesting customers, but blocking a large chunk of that traffic to give you some breathing space. And then we go on to the actual DDoS protection services. So DPS control, that's your access lists. So you can block those ports and those protocols that you're not using. And then from DPS core all the way through to DPS service provider, DPS core is manually started, so you would be detecting your own attacks. Could be as simple as your port's full. And it goes all the way through to DPS Max and DPS Service Provider, which are fully automated services. We're monitoring the traffic going through your network and activating a mitigation on behalf of you, should we need to. We used NetScout Arbor. Those statistics were from Arbor. That was the name I couldn't remember earlier. Don't know how I managed to forget that. So we use Arbor Sightline for the detection and then the TMS hardware for doing the scrubbing. We have them in 13 countries on 5 continents. So we have our cleaning distributed just as the attack is distributed as well. So we clean it as close to the edge as possible. So that just leaves me to say thank you all for taking time to listen this afternoon. If you have any questions, I'll be outside for a while this afternoon, and it's been great to see you all.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Wow. We still have 2 minutes, so if there's any question out of the room, can we put on the lights a little bit if there's any questions for Kevin on this after lunch? Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Where do you see the role of IXPs within the overall mitigation picture that you have provided there?
Wow. So the internet exchanges as part of this. I think some of them, I'm not working for an internet exchange, so I can't say what products they have that might be able to help with them. But some of our customers that have us with internet exchanges and other third parties, they tend to make a routing change to move the traffic to whoever's doing their cleaning on their behalf, allow them to do the cleaning, and then when the attack subsides, they then reset the routing back to the normal path again. So, maybe someone from AMS-IX can offer a better answer around what they might be able to do on your behalf to mitigate DDoS attacks?
Actually, we are acting as a gate towards NAVAS, the so-called scrubbing server in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I know NAVAS, yeah.
So one benefit, if you are connected to AMS-IX, for example, is that we have a direct access to NAVAS infrastructure as well, if we so. But there might be other aspects that we have thought of.
Yeah, but happy to chat afterwards. Come and find me.
It seems like a coffee date right here.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Definitely.
Here we go. Any other before we go to our next speaker? Thank you again, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin.